Gotta get organized. Take a minute. Gonna have a little webinar Friday going over finding your own trades. It was the class that we promised when people signed up for the financial fireworks sale, the sale that just ended. But I don't think anyone will mind. I'm going to let everybody come. I hope nobody minds. The education is so important. I don't think anyone will mind. And you know what? It's all right. I'm so excited, folks. We have so much stuff going on behind the scenes. I can't believe it. It could be a lot of changes, a lot of good changes, for real. Not just saying it. I'm gonna be in charge of buying all the vehicles that the company needs, like scooters, electric bikes, and stuff. So I probably won't be in the trade room anymore. I know you know I'm kidding, right? All right, so let's see, we got a minute and a half. Chantal knows. Now, you all don't realize this, but Chantal works for us. So we got to be nice to her. Chantal is also the world's greatest tester. No joke. Now, I'm not going to give her complete credit for API, but she did come up with the idea that it should be a range trade. I always traded it as a breakout trade. KT, you'll work for us. I'll keep it in mind. KT, where do you live? That was one of the problems. I have another person with your first name, and I assumed it was you, and that's why I sort of gave you wrong information, if you know what I'm talking about. But we'll figure. So we got to figure something out. All right, folks. So I want to welcome everybody to the 20-year bond auction, the 10-minute trades trade room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-minute trades. Remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. All right, so make sure, excuse me, for this trade, you want to be, I like ZB the best, but we've been seeing pretty good reactions at a ZN on the bond auctions. KT, you realize that the distance doesn't matter. I've been working here for, I think, 6 years now. I've never met my bosses. Just, electronically in a Skype or a Zoom. You want to have lunch with me? That's funny. I'm like the worst human being in the world, KT. In person, I'm like a horrible person. I'm great in a trade room. I'm great in a trade room. That's right, Mark. That's right. It's like Charlie's Angels. It's kind of funny. I can't remember. I kind of remember the beginning of Charlie's Angels where they're talking on the phone, if I remember, right? KT, that's funny. Where they're talking on the phone. Chantal, you want to have lunch also? All right. I probably have to move to Canada. I don't know if I can stay in the United States anymore. I just remember Cheryl Ladd getting out of the water. Mark, you're showing your age, dude. You're showing your age. Nobody even knows who Cheryl Ladd is anymore. It's only 10 hours. You all are killing me this morning. Let me pull up first of all, it's not morning. Let me pull up. So we have a mini DMM today. All right. Look, the truth. I always tell the truth. My boss left the 20-year auction DMM off the list. He left it off the group of DMMs. I noticed it late after someone told me, and by the time I asked him to replace it, see, he works for the military, and if I miss his window of communication, then there's not much I can do. I can't get the report out of him. And that's what happened. I missed his window of communication. So I made a little mini market mover so everybody knew that last two trades were winners. I told everybody I am no longer using brackets of 2 on any of the bond reports. Any. Okay. Brackets of 3, all bond reports for me. Now, that doesn't mean that the DMMs will have brackets of 2 on the 10-year and the 7-year. I try to convince my boss to do what I tell him, but he's the boss. He can do what he pleases. And he's going by the data. If you go by the data, the target of 2 is very reliable. But my point is, I'm willing to give up a tiny trade in order to be safe and possibly prevent a stop and maybe get a very big trade. So it's a difference in philosophy on some levels. The activation is 13:01:30. The cancel is 90 seconds. The target is 2. The second target is 6. The stop is 3. Okay. I have last month's DMM, which is very valid. Just remember that, and I have the trade from last month also. So the DMM is a little bit more, has more data on it, but 615 was a real nice winner. 519 was a winner. So we've had 5 winners in a row. Okay, 5 in a row. The 20-year has been a solid, nice trade. It's been a nice trade. So basically my setup is the same. The only difference is bracket. Okay. I got stopped out on my last bond trade because it was a 2-tick bracket. And it would not have been a great winner for us because the move was late and it was in the opposite direction. But the bracket saved us, would have saved us. David, there is sound. Let me help David. Okay, everybody can hear me, obviously, right? You've been answering me. So let's take a quick look at last month's 20-year. So last month was 721. Now, I found this trade. In other words, we never traded the 20-year bond. And 3 years ago, there was no 20-year bond auction. It didn't exist. But the point is, when I found it, my testing was all based on a 3-tick bracket. So for me, this trade is always a 3-tick bracket. It's much more similar, in my opinion, to the 30-year auction than the 7 or the 10. It's a higher value bond. It seems like the markets take it more, a little bit more, not seriously, but the markets look at it a little bit more intensely. Although I don't think that's really true. It just seems to move better on the auctions. Now, today we also have Fed minutes right after this. I think the Fed minutes will be very volatile today. I really do. It was a slow reaction last month, but it hit our first target. The bond trades, I just zipped out of it pretty quick. Usually if the bond trade bursts like that, you can protect your first target if you want to. You could move to break even -1, but it does chop around quite a bit, these reports, these reactions. Ultimately, deep down in my heart, I probably think that you're better off on these reports not moving the stop overall, but because it's $31.25 a tick, it's very hard not to protect some of the profit. It's just human nature to protect that profit. For me, I was taught, now look, I was taught not to move my stop, and I reject that, but I was taught to protect my profit, and I accept that. I think protecting profit is a good thing. I really do. I think protecting profit is good. So I have a picture of, oh no, I didn't realize this was a test. It was a half a screen. That's why I thought it was a picture. So did not have a trade room for June. I remember I couldn't be here. And it was an awesome move. Look at the move. It was beautiful. It would have hit both targets in 1 second. So it was almost a $300 trade. And people traded it, and people emailed me and told me they made money. This is a family money trade. The bond trades, I'm sticking with them. Even if we get stopped out occasionally, I think overall they're solid, and overall they are profitable, and they're not unbelievable risk. And I think they are family money because all 4 of them overall are making us money. That doesn't mean they're all going to work all the time, and they go through different periods of quality. And there's a lot of people watching this on YouTube. Would a couple of you be kind enough to give us a like? It really helps us out. Throw a couple of likes up there and subscribe to the channel, and you'll know the next time we're streaming, which will be tomorrow. So June had a good trade, had a very nice move. And then May, let's see what May did. I think May was a little bit small. Hang on, I'm not hearing. Now, so don't forget to have your NinjaScript output open, right? And minimized as a chart, NinjaScript output. Make sure that all of your programs that shouldn't be running in the background are not running in the background. try to keep your machine as clean as possible. Anybody trading on a Mac? Anybody trading out there on a Mac live with Ninja? Anybody trading live on a Mac with Ninja Trader? That I would be really curious about. David, what fixed your sound? You turned up your volume? Your pills kicked in? Fred, how long ago was that? Because the new Macs are unbelievable. I mean, I would not want to trade on a Mac. I would think that you're putting so much in the way between you and the broker and the data feed. It's like another whole operating system. I don't think it makes sense. Now, so 6 years ago, Fred, I would think it doesn't mean anything anymore because the computers are so different. It's like we wouldn't look at a trade at a market, from 6 years ago either, because that doesn't relate anymore. I think the same is true of the Macs. The MacBook Air, the current MacBook Air with the M1 chip is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I think Apple's almost sorry they released it because I think it hurts MacBook Pro sales because you can do almost everything a MacBook Pro can do. Even render video rendering is about 15% slower on a MacBook Air, which, given the price differential, is amazing. So you could see a nice trade in May, a good move. So this report's been winning. Yes, David, did you try running parallels on it? Did you try running parallels? They just released the M1 version of parallels. Apple says they're never going to support boot camp with the M1. This was April's 20 year. It is a shame that boot camp won't support it. Because boot camp's part of the OS. I think it's a better resource situation. Not perfect, but better. Potentially. And I haven't researched it, so I'm just talking off the top of my head on that. I love the Microsoft Surface. Oh my. I owned a Surface Book. I owned a couple of Surface Pros. I hear they're coming out with a new Surface like next month. Supposed to blow the roof off most specs. I hear it's supposed to be amazing. New Surface also. No more detachable screen is what I read. So April was a mediocre report at best. Pretty dull. Pretty dull. I love the Surface, though. I think it's a really fantastic computer. It's a tablet, really. It's an amazing product. Only one like on YouTube. That's it? We can't get a couple more likes over there? Come on. We're streaming, we're teaching, we're yakking. We have fun when we trade. All right, so let's talk about the setup. All right, this is a very easy trade to set up. It's a very specific time, 13:01:30. All right. I don't know. There's certain tools that I really think are worthwhile. I love Financial Juice Pro. I just love the service. I think they do a great job. It's an excellent news feed. If you're willing to pay for the pro version, you get real-time Squawk Box, okay? And you get a real-time news feed, and you get news results. In my opinion, the most accurate of all the calendars that we look at. Not as extensive in some ways, but it's really just their layout could use, if they could change their layout so that we could use it instead of investing.com. I'm actually going to talk to them about that. First of all, it would give them an advertisement every video that we did, right? It would advertise for Financial Juice Pro because they would put their name on it. Come on. I have not had good experiences with the tech support at investing.com. Now, they want me to pay for an ad-free version, and their tech support was really so bad that I would not have any interest in paying them for anything unless they showed me a marked improvement in the way that they deal with customers. Yes, Mike, it was left off. It was missing. Here's the setup. All right. I'm using a bracket of 3. And I'm just going to trade 2 contracts today. 2 for 6. 2 ticks. 6 ticks for my second contract. My stop is 3. And then the entry time is very important on this trade. It's 13:01:30. 13:01:30. It's a breakout trade. I'm trading for real. And you know I like to label my trades in case I set up multiple trades. That's the real reason I like to label my trades. Okay, everything else is default. Let's go over the setup once more. So it's a bracket of 3. 1 position for 2 ticks. Second position, second contract for a 6-tick profit, a 3-tick stop loss, and an activation entry time of 13:01:30. 13:01:30. So now I am hearing Financial Juice. Sometimes their Squawk Box is quiet if there's not a lot going on, news-wise. Chantal, that's so funny. We should have a live get-together. Eric was talking about it. He wants to. We want to have a live event. I think the place to do it, if we did do it, one of the places where it would make sense would be like when the money show's in New York, or what's the other show called? It's not the money show. It's not Traders. Is it Traders Expo? Is it Traders Expo? I went to one of those shows. It was great. It was a long time ago, many years ago. It was great. We could trade news live at a show like that. Yeah, it's far from California, Mike. That's a trek. It's also miserable traveling now with the virus and, wearing a mask for 5 hours on a plane. It's not fun. I'm not saying all this mitigation is fun, but 1,000 people died yesterday. 1,000. It's like more than what died a year ago. Delta is serious. When I go in a store, I wear a freaking mask. I don't care. I don't want to die. I mean, really, I just don't want to die right now. I'm really liking life. Am I holding any positions now, starting in the middle? No. Starting in the middle? Nope. And starting in the middle, we don't even care what the markets are doing. What do you think of that? We just trade report movement. I don't have to waste any time at all trying to figure out if it's a new high, a new low, an Elliott this, an Elliott that. I mean, we do, I'm teasing a little bit. We're not ignorant and don't have our heads in the sand. We understand that there's important support and resistance. But what we find, starting in the middle, is that, I'll call you G, what we find is that reports have a life of their own. That life might only last a minute. It might last 10 minutes. And then the markets will go back to doing what you're studying them to do. You follow me? And I'm not against technical. Don't get me the wrong way. Not against it at all. PF, no politics, okay? Because I'm not going to comment on that statement, but we don't discuss politics in this room. I was in a room where I couldn't believe what the moderator was saying. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. No, I didn't. I didn't listen to the conference. Which conference? Which one are you referring to? Middle or G? Middle. I like middle better than G. Music, yes, that's right, Mike. All music, anything music goes. Anything, anything, anything. But you can't win talking politics. But we could mention how many people died. That's not politics. That's health. What conference? The one comment at the end where he balanced out? No, I don't know which conference. Did I miss? Was it a Biden conference? Oh, I missed it. No, I forgot. I forgot all about it. I forgot all about it. Totally forgot. I'll have to watch it later. I'll watch it later. Best rock guitarist of all time. Mark, I think is that easy? Is that easy? Rick Beato. Who does Rick Beato think is the best rock guitarist of all time? I know who he thinks is the best bass player of all time, including jazz, though. It's Ron. Oh my God. He just interviewed him. Ron, I can't believe I'm not remembering his last name. AM, I am following the DMM for the setup, the little DMM, AM, the little DMM, right? Three tick bracket. No, I missed Powell. I like Powell. 3-tick bracket, 1301.30 entry, targets of 2 and 6, stop of 3, following the mini DMM verbatim, and it's the exact same as last month except for the bracket, 3-tick bracket. No, I forgot. You're right. I totally forgot that Powell had a conference because it's before the minutes. It's a big week when they have the minutes, and yet the minutes don't give us the kind of trade that the statement gives us. The minutes, well, when we get to the minute trade room, I'll show you. We'll talk about it. So look at my account, right? When we started talking family money trades, the account was 13,300. That was in April. All right. Now remember, I'm not trading 10, 15 contracts. I'm trading pretty close to the way an average trader with a decent sized account would trade. Okay. And I'm calling decent $15,000. $15,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a large trading account. Okay. But it's a decent sized trading account. So we started talking about family money trades and starting to get serious about it. The account was at 13,300. My account is now 22,190. And that's real. You can see it. I think that's awesome. I really think that's awesome. So how about somebody give me a like for that? Um, you feel like he flipped his hand. So, gee, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything at the minutes. He'll just say stuff. They don't really, it's really the minutes is what they think of the economy, what they think they're going to do with interest rates, maybe some info about tapering, right, raising rates. You know what I mean? But they don't really do anything because they do that at the statement generally. Um, that's awesome, Mike. It is awesome. And, my results are not exact for what people should have, but it means because everybody knows I am not like Mr. Professional, the best trader who ever lived. I'm far from it. So if I can do that with my account, anybody can do it. And I'm not knocking myself, but everybody knows because you watch me how good of a trader I am or how bad of a trader I am. I'm a middle of the road trader. I'm not the top of the line trader. There are better traders in the room. Exactly. That's with my early exits. With the recent bad numbers, they won't change their outlook. Yeah, I mean, the recent bad numbers, retail sales, I totally was wrong on retail sales. I thought they would be really good. But then if you think about it, see, I made the comment also that I thought car sales would be good. And honestly, there's no cars. You can't get a car. Try to lease a car. You can't. If the dealer has one, it's a miracle. And that's the honest truth. They have no inventory because of the chip shortage. So I think that supply chain issues are hurting retail sales. I think people aren't totally broke. There are plenty of people that are looking for jobs, definitely. Plenty of people that have jobs. There are jobs available. The pay is getting better because people are less willing to work for really bad wages. Life has changed forever because of the crisis we're going through. Many of the changes are for the better. Not all, but some. Let's watch.
It's a 90-second cancel, this report. My news is not showing. It doesn't matter that much. The auction just came out. Not much of a move. Not much of a move. I'm going to cancel the trade. I'm going to cancel the trade. There's no move. The news is out. Now, look, I canceled 15 seconds early. No, 45 seconds early. I may be wrong, but the news came out, absolutely no response at all. They may be waiting for the Fed minutes today. They may be waiting for the Fed minutes. Now, our cancel would be 1303. 1303 is our official cancel. If it goes 5 more seconds without moving any more than it just did, now it's an official cancel. So this is an official no trade for us, okay? Official no trade. Oh, interesting, Dutchie, that you got filled on the ZN. KT, we have a 9 o'clock trade room tonight, 9 o'clock. We always have that trade room, Australia. So ZN filled. You know, I'm a ZB person. ZN, I don't like dull trades, Dutchie. I don't like dull trades. So if you can get out flat, try to get out flat right now, if you can. Because generally, but I mean, it's FOMC minutes. There's no question that that's what the bonds are waiting for. They're waiting for the minutes. I don't mind staying in the room until the bonds. Yeah, Mike, it's, oh, Dutchie, okay. If you're in Sim, there might have been one tick of slippage. So I'm glad that you didn't do it live and get filled, because you can tell it's going to be a dull trade. US 20-year bonds draw. I knew someone would ask me that. The one thing I do not know, JK, maybe somebody can fill us in. Who understands how to read the bond results? I don't know what they mean, JK. What difference the yield makes? Somebody knows. No, somebody knows. Somebody tell us. How does the yield? I know nothing about bonds except how to trade these reports. And obviously, for a trend trade, you should know what it means if you're going to do a trend trade. And it's time. So I'm going to stay in the room until the next trade. So let's Google, what do bond yields mean? What do bond yields tell us? Okay. Understanding bond prices and yields. So let's see if we can figure this out finally. I don't know if I have the patience. So if the yield is going up, right? If yield's going up, can't they just tell in 1 second what it means? Okay, when there's inflation going up, interest rates go up, obviously, that we know, and that makes bond prices go down. So when there's more inflation, bond prices go down. What about the yield? Yield. A yield relates a bond's dollar price to its cash price. And bond yield is a good indication of the quality of the economy. And there's several different yield calculations. So there is no simple answer. A bond's yield is the discount rate that equates the bond's cash flows to its current dollar price. Oh, God. Somebody just tell me. All right, here's what I want to know. Somebody must know a lot about bonds. Hold on. If yields are up, so is interest, and bond prices are down. That's right. So look, it was 1.850. They were expecting 890. So the yield came in lower. The yield was lower. So the bond price went up. Is that what that means? The bond price went up. We do need a bond trader in here. Folks, I said I was going to stay until the FOMC minutes. So I'm just going to keep the room open. You know, if you want to get lunch and come back in 20 minutes. It just doesn't make sense to close the room and come back. We're here. I'm sure we could. And Chantal, if you want to keep the YouTube streaming going, you can. Or not many people stayed. It's up to you. You could keep it streaming. There's a few people that seem interested. So if yields are down, then interest is down, and bonds go a little bit higher. So I would not think that that's a very significant difference in the auction. 890 versus 850 doesn't seem that significant. And there's absolutely no response in the market to the 20-year or to the 15-year note. ZN, it's a note, isn't it? 15-year? I believe it is. Yeah, that's the zero reaction because the news was, how we say, almost matching, almost as expected. So our next trade, this is really difficult, okay? Why is our next trade difficult? Let's talk about it since we're here. The FOMC minutes, we had been trading gold. The gold trade on FOMC minutes has been very bad. It's not been working. It's not a viable trade anymore. I have not found a viable trade on the FOMC minutes. That's the problem. I cannot find a good trade. In truth, it's not our style of trade. That's the problem. We're trying to find a trade style in a reaction that probably doesn't fit our style. So I think that's the problem we're having with the FOMC minutes. We're just not getting the type of reaction that we normally look to trade. So what does that tell you? It means that, Chantal, is it convenient for you to leave it on, or I know you have a schedule. So if it interferes with your schedule, then you can turn the streaming off. Just let me know. If you are going to stay, I'd leave it totally to you because I never said I was going to do it. Okay. But if you have to turn it off, Chantal, just let me know and I'll say goodbye. So yields are down, interest and bonds are higher. So yields were a tiny bit down, but not much today. So that's why we didn't have much of a move. So one of the instruments that I think is tradable on the FOMC is one of the bonds or all three of the bonds. I mean, you could trade ZB, I believe. You could trade ZN and you could trade ZF. ZF is the 10-year note, I believe. ZN is the 15. ZB is the 30-year bond. I have not been able to find great breakout trades on any of them. I think, and the other problem, FOMC minutes, is the market's really different now than the previous FOMC, than a lot of the previous FOMC minute trades. So there really hasn't been a very big response in the past to the FOMC minutes. I think the response that's going to happen today is potentially larger than what we would normally get, but I don't anticipate it necessarily the way that we would be looking to trade it. I don't think that our way is the best way. I think on this particular trade, if you look at the history, it's terrible. Stopped last time, stopped the time before, canceled the time before, stop in February, loss in January. The last time we had a winning trade on FOMC minutes with analysis was November. Now, I know that it was one of our trades of the week. So one of those periods doesn't agree with what happened live in the trade room, which is okay because I very possibly used different targets. That changes things dramatically. I've also done a lot of testing on the NQ as an alternative. It's not working well right now. It just isn't. An 8-tick bracket is too small. So look, with these results, very honestly, and one of the rare instances where I don't have a good replacement. Craig, a lot of people are trading micros. A lot of people. Micro oil is tradable. Micro gold is tradable. MGC. Actually, mini gold is MGC. It's been around forever. That's tradable. The indexes, MES, MNQ, very tradable. Any report that we have a trade, if it has a valid micro, you can use the micro. Like if we had an NQ trade, like the FOMC statement, you could substitute the MNQ. You might want to have slightly bigger targets and stops, but the micros are very tradable. Now, you don't want to trade a micro the first day it's been released because they don't have volume yet and liquidity. Takes a little bit of time, and they're not all as popular as others. So you want to check liquidity, and you want to make sure that people are trading it. But micros are very interesting. What did people trade yesterday? Craig, for me, I have no interest in micro bond. None. Personally. What I love the most about the bond trades is having a big profit. A big profit if my ZB trade works out. Now, I understand, but I'm not ignorant, and I do understand that people want to do what we do with small accounts. So I will start to look at the micro bonds. But they're brand new. So you'll probably want to give them time. So Craig, give me a symbol. What's the 30-year micro symbol? Is it MZB? Because I didn't get the email yet, which is surprising. I didn't see the email come through about the micro treasuries yet. So the micro treasuries have arrived. The brokers love them because they're more expensive to trade. You know, they want to make believe that they're your friend because the margins are as low as $50 a contract. I'm your friend. You know, as they put their hand in your pocket, taking your fees, okay? And that's fine. I mean, just know that the brokers, they're not our friends. So I don't see a symbol. Somebody tell me what one of the symbols are. Dutchie, it's not usually anything, to be honest. I mean, it usually hasn't been a very big mover. That's the truth. It usually hasn't been a very big mover. It's a trap trade is not automatically a yes because a trade appears to be a whipsaw. just so you understand that. It's certainly something you want to look at, and it definitely is in the back of my mind, Dutchie. But the reason I don't really have a perfect setup for the FOMC minutes is we've done a tremendous amount of testing and haven't been able to find a setup that we loved. And then secondly, and it's partly because it's been so inconsistent. And I think we're entering in a period now where it might be less inconsistent for a period of reports. That's what I'm thinking. So let's see what it does today. So here's the contracts. Well, let me see, the 30-year Q1, what's the symbol? What's the symbol? Am I missing something? I'm not seeing the symbol. I have about 0 patience. They can't be just calling it 30Y, can they? That would make too much sense. That would be pretty cool. They're calling that the product code, 30Y. Now, your account might not be, I don't think it's going to work. No. So isn't that weird, though, that why don't they just come out and say exactly what the contract name is? 2YY, 5YY. That's weird. Anyway, Chantal, what's the code? What's the contract name for the new micro 30-year bond? What's the contract? MZB. That's what I would have thought. See, I would have thought MZB because that's what they've been doing on everything almost. You think it's 30YR? Hey, there you go. No data. No data. I'm going to put my charts in Sim. No data. So we'll have to look into it. I'll have to look into it, which we'll do. We'll check it out because we definitely like trading micros. So we had been trading gold on the FOMC meeting minutes. I think gold is useless on the FOMC minutes currently. It just hasn't been working. So I would not trade gold. Yeah, on the FOMC statement, you can definitely trade ZB, NQ, ES, almost anything is tradable on the statement. I was thinking bonds today might be worth a trade. I'm not going to trade it live because I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan for it. I've done some testing and I just didn't come up with anything very impressive. We'll look harder for next month. I don't like to just throw my hands up in the air because a report is as bad as this one. 5 out of 6 months, 5 out of 6 of the last reports, none of them made money for us. I will say that one of them did, because I know one of them was a trade of the year. Hey, Brian, I was hoping you would show up today. Are you feeling well enough to talk to someone you're in Ireland these days, right? You are in Ireland, am I right? And you can say no if you don't feel well. So what I was thinking is looking at bonds and the NQ. On the FOMC minutes. I don't think there's any point in having news open for the FOMC minutes, because they're not going to change interest rates today. We're not in an emergency, right? The only time that something like that would happen would be if we were in some sort of an emergency. The question is if you're feeling well enough for that, Brian. I'm talking to somebody in Ireland. I'm going to talk to him, I hope, by Skype first. So I'm kind of in a state of shock about R. Kelly. I'm in a state of shock. You know why? The reason I'm in a state of shock is because, I mean, he created an anthem. The guy created an anthem. I Believe I Can Fly. Now, you know, I can play this in the trade room. Did you know that? I think I can play this in the trade room. Let me try the technology. We have half an hour. Do you guys mind if I fool around for a minute? I don't know what I'm doing on the FOMC. That's the sad truth. Let me just look at one thing. Now, I don't know how to do it. I have to figure out how to do it. All right, don't worry about it. But, I mean, this guy, he created an unbelievable song. He wrote that song, I Believe I Can Fly. I Believe I Can Fly. So I'll tell you, there were two amazing things that took place this week, in my opinion. First of all, now I hope I don't lose my job by saying this. They should change the name of R. Kelly's song to I Believe I Can Fly. No, I can't say it. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, I don't want to lose my job. If this was my trade room, I'd say whatever I want. The second amazing thing that happened this week is the Field of Dreams baseball game. If you're a Field of Dreams fan, right? That game, the intro, Kevin Costner walking out of the corn, everything besides the game, before the game took place, was absolutely stunning. It was fantastic. But you have to be a fan of Field of Dreams and the meaningful message in the movie, and you know, the fact that it was Kevin Costner's greatest role, way better than The Bodyguard. I mean, way better than Bull Durham. It's just an amazing piece of art, in my opinion, with one of the greatest soundtracks also in the history of music. And I think he won an Academy Award James Horner won an Academy Award for the soundtrack. That's very low volume, Wally. So, this might be an instance, folks, to look at how you might try to use the squeeze play on this report. With the NQ, let's say that we have two things that we expect to happen on this report. There's going to be a potential, I believe there will be a potential shock to the system, okay, when the minutes come out, because the markets are expecting sort of a shock to the system. I think, or it's possible that there could be a shock to the system. So I would set up an NQ breakout trade like so. The 8 bracket mentioned on the DMM, I have tested it, and I don't believe it will work today. Okay, it's worked a little bit in the past, but not recently. Okay, it has not been a good trade, this bracket trade down here. But I think it's in the right direction of what you might want to consider. And nobody do this live money. This is untested. Okay, unless you're taking so much risk, because I don't know that I'm right. I'm telling you the truth. I would use a 15 tick bracket. So you got to have a darn good move on the NQ. And that's not even that much in these days, where the NQ can move 30 ticks in a blink of an eye. So 15 tick bracket, and we're just testing. So one position, I would have a target of 10 ticks and a target of 40 ticks and a stop of 22 ticks. Probably should be 25. $125 roughly per contract in risk. And you definitely want to label this and what I'm looking for is a burst, okay? A quick burst as the report comes out to at least hit your first target. Let's make it 30 ticks because it's not the FOMC statement. I think my original stop of 22 feels right to me. And my bracket's 15. So NQ, and again, folks, I'm not doing this live. This is maybe we can expect some kind of a 10-minute trade style move on the FOMC minutes. It's possible. I'm not expecting it for sure, but I think it's possible. All right. So that's just a simple breakout trade, not complicated. The time I would use would be 1400 hours Eastern time, 2 o'clock, nothing early. I don't like entering this trade early. All right. So that's my setup. Pretty simple. Target of 10 ticks and 30 ticks with a stop of 22 and a bracket of 15. All right. That would be my attempt at an NQ 10-minute trades breakout trade. I would not trade gold. I would not trade gold. It's 5 out of 6 unprofitable moves. It's really 4 out of 6. We had one that won. Okay. I might consider setting up a squeeze play. So let's explain the squeeze play. If you go into our software and click on strategies, double click like we always do, instead of choosing, well, let's start from the top. So the squeeze play does not require a bracket because it's a manual entry trade. It's not automated, okay? That's how it differs. That's a big difference between a breakout trade and the squeeze play, and the trap trade as well. The trap trade is an automated entry. So if you don't have an automated entry, you have to have some method of measurement to help you get into the trade, either zones, time, or candles, right? Very simple concept, a way to measure so that you can take a high and a low of what you measure and use that high and low for your entries. It's not complicated. People get all bent out of shape thinking things are complicated when it really isn't. All we're trying to do is just figure out how to measure a certain amount of time, and then we're going to have the software calculate the high and low of that measurement, and that's where we'll put our orders. X ticks above or below the high and the low. Everybody understand the concept? Very simple. That doesn't mean that if you say you don't understand it, that you're dumb. It means you don't understand it, and I don't mind repeating it again. So we're using a form of measurement. So one form of measurement that our software allows is the one-click bar look back. Sounds real severe, doesn't it? And complicated. But all it means is how many candles are we going to look at to get our high and our low. That's all it means. How many candles do we want to look at to get our high and our low? I just want one. I don't want a whole big range. I just want the reaction of the trade, and that's going to hopefully give me a direction. Okay? So my one-click bars look back is just one. I'm just going to use the current candle at 2 o'clock. And then I'm going to enter above or below that range, okay? If I turn the trade on, and I'm going to use 2 ticks above or below the high of the candle. Okay? Not complicated. Everybody get it? Now, like any trade, you need how many contracts you're going to trade and targets. That's true of every single trade. So you're always going to have a position 1 size, at least, because that's 1 contract. So we're testing. We're not going to trade 500 contracts. Don't test a trade the way you wouldn't trade in real life, okay? What point is there in testing if you're not going to trade that way in real life? Then you're just playing, right? You're playing at trading. You're not really doing yourself any good. Make the time that you spend valuable so that you can get something from it. So I'm going to choose a number of contracts, and I'm going to choose, I'll trade 2. We'll do a test with 2 bond contracts. And our first target, I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to go to 6. No, I'm going to leave it at 5. And my second target is going to be 12. That's a lot of money if it moves that much, because it's $30 a tick, okay? And with a FOMC type statement, if you make your stop too small, you're going to get mutilated by the market. It's going to take your money. So we're going to have to risk, I think, 6 ticks, $180 per contract, which is really not that bad. If you're trading gold in a discretionary trade, wouldn't you risk 20 ticks on an average gold trade? I would. I wouldn't trade gold normally with a 10 tick bracket or stop, with a 10 tick stop. I think it's tight. I think it's a little bit tight for gold in these markets. So my bond trade, it's got a 1 bar look back. I'm just going to look back 1 bar. Okay. I'm going to have orders that show up at the high of that bar and the low of that bar, 2 ticks above and 2 ticks below it. And I'm going to put on 2 positions if I enter the trade with a target of 5 and a target of 12. And my stop is going to be 6 ticks. That's what I'm risking. I don't need entry times, nothing. All I need is make sure you have a stop, positions, the bar look back, and ticks above and below the range. That's it. All right? Not that complicated to set up a squeeze play. Don't forget, change it to squeeze play. Squeeze play. That was hard. Wow. It's easy to forget though. Then I'm going to label the trade ZB, FOMC, M for minutes, squeeze. I'm going to call it bonds. We'll definitely see it. Okay. Now my trade is set up. When I click, did you see what happened though when I clicked the enable button? You get all these crazy buttons on the software. They're not really crazy. They make total sense. The first two on the right, they will put you in the market immediately, but they'll use your targets and stops, okay? Our software is like a super ATM. You don't have to write an ATM. It has trailing, it has stop moving, it has all sorts of features that we'll talk about more of them. We'll talk about some of them on Friday at our webinar. And like I told everybody yesterday, we're having one webinar a week starting this week. Some of them will be sales webinars, but many of them will be educational webinars, okay, for us. So when you enable the squeeze play, our software puts these buttons on the chart. Oh my gosh, they're so confusing. I just don't know what to do. Well, the first two, all they do is put you in the market long or short. Click the button, puts you in the market long. Click the button red, puts you in the market short. Really simple, not complicated, okay? Really simple, not complicated. The two middle buttons, one of them will put you in the market for a long trade. One of them will put you in the market for a short trade. And they'll use the ticks above and below, the range, okay? But we don't know the direction. We don't know what's going to happen. So we would theoretically use the one-click range entry because it could go short or long, could go either way, all right? Right-click your chart, and if you have buttons, go to crosshair and turn it off. It's hard to find the buttons unless you have the arrow. If you have the arrow, it's real easy to click buttons, see? If you have a crosshair, it's really hard to click buttons. You'll miss half the time in a fast trade, you'll panic. I do, and I'm a professional trader, okay? See how professional I am? I never make a mistake. So I'm going to turn off my crosshair. And I'm going to click one-click range entry when I'm ready to trade. But I'm in sim, so here's what it's going to do. It's going to use a couple of ticks above and below, theoretically the last candle, okay? And then you're going to get a reaction, right? Maybe the reaction, you don't want to do that until you get the reaction. You're going to want to try and figure out by the reaction what the direction of the market is going to be right after the news. Now, normally, the way that we would use this kind of a setup, like with oil, you would have an idea about the trend. if the trend of oil is very down, that day you'd be real interested in taking a trade to the short side if the news agrees. That's how we would consider doing it. I'm in the middle of a slight software upgrade so that if you decide to only trade in a certain direction, there will be less buttons on the screen, so it'll be less confusing. You won't be able to click long if you just choose short, except there will be the two buttons on the end. You don't want to cripple yourself and not be able to enter the market in either direction. But we don't need a look back trade, a squeeze trade, except in the direction we say we're going to take it, okay? So we're going to have at least one less buttons on the screen, which will be less confusing. In fact, we may not have the range entry button either. You don't need it. We're only going to need a long or a short because we have a direction command in our software. If you use direction and you tell it short only, why do you need a one-click range long button? You don't, okay? So I'm going to have the programmer not print those buttons. I want to try and make this as simple as possible. So let's say the FOMC, they come out, the news comes out, and it looks like bonds are going to move down. So I'm going to click the one-click short. And I don't have to worry about the long side, okay? See how cool that is? It just gives me the trade on one side. And if the market moves down, it'll fill me. And it'll use my targets, right? And my stop. And that's how we use the squeeze. That's called the squeeze play. Now, there's another really cool way you can use the squeeze play. Let's say there's an oil report. And let's say, make believe this is a 30-second chart, okay? Make believe. See how the momentum is moving up on the squeeze? That's how this trade got its name. We used to use the squeeze indicator as our method of entry. See how the momentum is moving up? Green, 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 bright green, longer bars each candle. And then all of a sudden it changes direction. That's a short entry, that color change. Or it's a potential short entry. You see that color change after a news report? And the news report is positive for gold, which normally would push it down. Then you might want to take that short trade as a squeeze trade, as a trend trade, okay? Am I confusing you, or is everybody understanding what I'm saying? Are you understanding? Tell me. Does everyone get what I'm saying? Nobody's going to answer me? Our software is really powerful. It has so many features that nobody knows about. Not because of any reason that we don't use all of the features, because we have a certain DNA that the company was based upon. But I made the software flexible because people were always asking me, can I use your software to trade in a discretionary manner? And when I first got here, the answer was no. All you could do was take a breakout or do a trap trade. That was it. But now we have, like I said, trailing stops. You can move your stop. You can delay your stops. A lot of features that the software can do that will help you if you're a discretionary trader. So I was hoping that that would open up our service to a lot of people, or at least open up our software, that a lot of people would buy our software just for the software, and they would not even, we'd never even see them again, except when we had webinars explaining what the software does. And we do have members like that, people that just use our software. And I never see them in the trade room. Can you all hear me? Let me just backtrack. Can you hear me? Somebody tell me that I'm not speaking in tongues. Okay. I feel like I'm speaking to the wind, but I hope that I'm making sense and it has interest to you. My point is, look inside your NinjaScript output file test and see what it says, for real. But why did you have GTD selected? You know, Tess, you're taking a chance because you're brand new and you're trading live without practice. I know you're a former member, but you should take a week or two to get reacclimated with a software program that's totally different than the one you used previously, just as a way of protecting your account. Okay, good, good, good. I stand corrected and I will shut up. Very good. You know, it's very rare to get a trade rejected on Sim. I have never even used a GTD trade. Good till dead? Good till death? I don't think that's why it was canceled, Tess. I would probably want to take a peek at the output file to see what it says. When you find the line in the output, in all seriousness, don't forget new NinjaScript output. Every trade will have the instructions that took place with the software, okay? Every trade. And you can look through and hopefully you'll find a line where you can see it says rejected. And it may give you, it may show you exactly why. Okay? It may show you exactly why. And Tess, I know you have an email waiting for an answer, so don't think I'm ignoring it. I just got a ton of emails today that I have to get there. So I will definitely answer it. I forgot what I was saying. I was moaning because I didn't think anybody was listening. I hope you're listening. So it's like I said, this is a trade until we find a setup that we trust. You certainly can try the squeeze on any report. The idea is that after the news, the market will start to trend, or you expect a large reversal. It's not a quote unquote reversal trade. That's different, but it has a lot of similarities to a squeeze. Oh, I was talking about using the actual squeeze to get signals. When you put the squeeze chart on 30 seconds, and if I use the indicator, the TTM, the fake TTM squeeze that somebody programmed on Ninja, and my momentum length, 10 is okay. You can experiment with momentum lengths. Fred, are you here? What were you doing, oil and natural gas momentum on your 30-second trades? on when we were doing the squeeze trades. What were you using as momentum for your 30-second oil and gas? Remember the old way you used to do it? Oh, you're still doing it. What value were you using for momentum? 10? Or was it lower? I just don't remember what we were using. Momentum, that momentum gives you signals faster or slower. Faster if the number's lower. But you don't want it so fast that it just creates too many signals. You want to try, and that's why indicator trading is so difficult, right? Indicator trading. 17. I don't remember us using it that high. Okay, 30-second chart. Okay. So, and Fred is using the system. So the key is do some experimentation. You could use 17, you could use 12. Okay. It'll change the frequency of your signals. And we usually use a 1 minute or a 30-second chart. I don't usually go lower. Some people trade on 15-second charts. Chantal does a lot of testing on second charts. Sometimes 2 seconds, 1 second. I've seen her do testing. But so the squeeze, the idea of the squeeze trade is we're looking for some sort of a trend after news. You can use the squeeze as a signal generator. You could use that as your signal generator if you want to. If you think the market's looking low after the news, you can wait for a signal that says go short. One short signal is momentum in the direction of the downside. Red getting longer and longer and longer, dark red. That's a down signal. Okay? Another short signal is a way that people don't usually use the squeeze. When it changes momentum and direction color. That's actually, in some ways, a stronger down signal than that. That's why we like it. Just remember that when you indicator trade, indicators lag. And sometimes indicators just don't work. You know, sometimes they just don't work. They just flop around. If indicators worked, people wouldn't constantly be buying new indicators. Millions of them, right? I mean, oh man, I need a new indicator. My indicator's not working. I need the perfect indicator that tells me exactly when to go short. Everyone's always looking for the perfect indicator. They don't exist. Now, I love the squeeze. The squeeze is my favorite indicator. There's a company out there. I've been begging them to do a webinar with us. Begging. And they just don't want to do it. I don't know why. I don't know if he's too busy. I think that we would be a perfect match for a webinar, dual webinar with a company that has a squeeze. That looks awesome also. It looks like a great product. I want him to sell you guys the product. And I want him to let me use it and teach it to everybody. And he's too busy. So that's the perfect webinar. That's the perfect webinar. When somebody has a product that we love, that we want to use, you know, that we want to get involved with. So don't forget, folks. Hey, Chantal, I don't know if you can post this on YouTube. Can you post this registration link for our Friday webinar. And the only reason I'm using the name Find Your Own Fish, I never would have called it that. Our marketing director called it that. Tess, I don't have a squeeze setup. I don't have a squeeze setup. So, I mean, there's no setup to repeat. Honestly, I'm using it default. I'm using it default. The only thing I'm changing, Tess, is the momentum, but I haven't tested it in a long time for this trade, so I don't have a setup for today, honest. If you download the squeeze, just set the momentum to 10. That's the only thing. The only other thing we do is the colors, okay? You want to take a picture of the colors, okay? Blue, black, lime, dark gray, red, coral. Blue, black, lime, dark gray, red, coral, okay? And momentum is 10. That's it. Now, one thing the squeeze does, it does something crazy, and then we got to go back to the trade. If it just puts giant lines on the screen, whatever the auto scale is set to, make it the opposite. If it's checked, uncheck it. If it's not checked, check it. It will fix your squeeze, okay? It will fix your squeeze. So we have an NQ bracket trade set up with a 15 tick bracket, and we've got a potential squeeze trade set up for the bonds. Brian, I don't remember if I asked him or not. I don't think he was interested. No, he doesn't have one. He doesn't have one. He feels that his price is cheap enough not to have a trial. And in a sense, I can respect that. We don't have a trial, but we do let people in the trade room for free all the time. A lot. And we stream, you know. We will be back tonight at 9 o'clock for Australia Jobs. That is a family money trade. Have you all noticed that Gravatar icon, if you look at my Gravatar icon really fast, it looks like the Alatolia, the Khomeini. I forget how to pronounce that. Alatolia Khomeini. I look like the supreme leader of Iran 20 years ago in that Gravatar. Did you ever notice that? I look over at that and I go, why is Khomeini in our trade room? Okay, here we go. So let's see if the NQ does anything. Alatolia. What the heck? Somebody pronounce that for me. There's our NQ breakout. So the report probably hasn't come out yet. Bonds usually go it's not released. How do I know? Financial Juice. Thank you very much. Pro. Released. You're not seeing a big reaction, right? Not a very big reaction to him. Now, you want to be careful. So 15 was not a big enough bracket, in my opinion. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Let's see if the market likes what it hears or not. It may not. You see why this trade's been difficult. No big breakout move. Just right now, it's got a lot of chop, and the report's been out for 30 seconds. So it hits the first target. Oh, I tried to move my stop larger, right? So bonds are going the wrong way. Bonds are going the wrong way. So if they want to move up one tick and take me in the trade, now they got to move 2 ticks. And I'm not sure I want to be in that bond trade, to be honest. Now the NQ, you could put an NQ trade on again by redoing the software, right? It moved 15 ticks on the NQ. I'd be surprised if bonds go the same direction as the NQ. That would surprise me. Now, if you get stopped out of the NQ, bonds might continue up. But there really is no trend yet, okay? There is not a trend yet, except up in the NQ. NQ's trend, but it's struggling. It's definitely struggling. And it would have stopped and you would have lost that second trade, okay? Bonds, you're stuck in a dull trade where bonds, they're not sure what they want to do yet, okay? Ayatollah, thank you. Ayatollah Khomeini. Ayatollah Khomeini. I couldn't pronounce it. Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you. Thank you, Kershid. The Ayatollah. I just couldn't remember how to pronounce it. Ayatollah Khomeini. So you could put another NQ trade on, uncheck, check, right? You could expand your orders if you wanted to. Bonds are doing nothing, right? They're not moving. But it looks like the NQ is trying to trend up. It's trying. All right. Now, if it hits the first target, I'll move my stop to safety. And it'll take me out. That's okay. We could put another one on. Right? You could trade the NQ over and over if you want. Bonds, not doing much. I don't want to be in bonds. Do you? I got out of bonds. Don't want to be in them. Not yet. I can put the trade back on, though, by unchecking it. My NQ is definitely trending up. Okay? The market, maybe it likes the news. Maybe. I'm trying to move my orders. I'll put another trade on. If it wants to keep moving up, we could take advantage of it. We're up $300. Okay, if it keeps going up, move my target, which I tried to do before. Whoops. Bonds are moving up again. Strange. Same direction. Now it's getting choppy and choppier, right? It's getting a lot choppier. And it looks like it's going to reverse on us. It can't keep going up. It's got to pull back a little bit, right? So we'll give back a little bit of the profit there. Or you could, all right. So with the bonds, look at the bonds. Why are the bonds going up too? So do you want to risk a bond trade? You could put it back on, right? You can put your bonds on in both directions if you want. And if it fills you, if you get the move, you could take the trade. NQ, you could put on again by turning the trade off, turn it back on. See if you can catch a short range trend. I think it's pretty cool what our software can do and how it does it. Now it's definitely struggling. NQ's moved up a lot. It was like eight points before the news, right? I think we may have reached our limit. We may have reached our limit. So maybe I'll let it stop me out. All right, so you know what? We still would have made a little bit of money. It might not have been worth it to go in and out, in and out, in and out. A couple of times I tried to increase my target. Now it's looking short, isn't it? It's looking short. So I don't have a short trade set up on the NQ. And look, it changes in an instant. So difficult. Shrink my bracket. Shrink my bracket so it pulls me in long sooner. Now I hear in my ear there's some bad news. There's some bad news that they're saying. So I only want to go short right now. I want to get filled short. Okay, I moved my order too close. That's why I got the error. Okay, I want it short. Okay. I'll protect my profit a little bit. It hit my first target. Nah, it's going to stop me. No taper for some time, it said. But see what you could do with the software? Very cool. I'm not saying you would trade this many times, right? Ideally, you want to find the one trend and stick with it if you can, right? I'm just demonstrating possibilities. So let's see if we can get out here with a profit. Pull down, come on, and bingo, okay? Cover your expenses barely. Still looks short to me. Still looks short. I want to get filled right away. Down. I want my target further down. Maybe a little further down. Protect that first stop, that first target. Now my target's very big, right? It's very big. So maybe I want $100. Bingo. Okay. Try to play the trend. It looks down, still looks down, still looks down. Anyway, that's a very interesting way that you could use our breakout software if you want to day trade. And also, you can use it where you wait for the market to come to you. I want to let the market come to me, right? So I use the one-click range entry, and maybe the market will come to me. Maybe the bonds did not move all that much, and they gave back most of what they moved. Okay. And a couple of things we want to check. We wanted to check gold because that was our original trade. Did gold do anything? Look at that. Gold would have worked today. Isn't that crazy? Absolutely crazy. Looks like gold would have been a perfect trade. That's so crazy. So in order to figure that out, you want to do a test. You want to download gold today, right? And you can do a replay. If you go to market replay, load, get market replay data, download gold today. Today is the 18th. Put the date on 18. And then select gold GC 1221, download. I've downloaded today's gold data. I can change my connection to market playback. And now watch. This is what I love about this stuff. I can put my dates on today, 8/18, right? Both of them are on 8/18. I can now put my time on 1:59:50, right? PM. And I'm going to set up a very quick gold breakout as per the DMM, right? We had a DMM that had a gold setup. I can replay it to see if our gold trade would have worked today. Would it have worked? I say it looked like it did. So the time is right. Ninja has that little bug where it resets the time when you start the replay sometimes. So when you press play, you just have to put the time back in. So my time is 1:59:50, 10 seconds before the news comes out, PM. Okay, there's gold, 10 seconds before the news. So now I'm going to put my gold trade in. Only takes a second. Breakout trade. My bracket is 8. Target of 5 and 12. Target's 5 and 10. My stop is 11. And the entry time I would do at 1400. But let's say we do exactly what the report says. 15, it's going to be 13:59:59, right before 2 o'clock. It's a breakout trade. We're on playback. That's our trade. This is now a test of our DMM. Enable the trade. Okay. Press play. We're using this clock. It'll be 10 seconds, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, 1 second before 2 o'clock. Now, Michael's saying that GC was canceled, no trade after 40 seconds. I don't know, Michael, if I would cancel after 40 seconds. I would wait at least a minute on a bank report like this. That's my personal thought. I would wait a minute, all right? So I would wait until 2:01, maybe even, I would wait a minute at least a minute. Let's see if it still would have been canceled. So it's 40 seconds now. 40 seconds. What does the DMM say? 40 seconds? DMM says cancel 40 seconds. Okay, so officially it was a canceled trade. I'm going to let it run. Remember, the news was late. It was about 20 seconds late. So it's still theoretically canceled. It's theoretically a canceled trade. I mean, if you left it on a minute and 20 seconds, I think you would have had a superb trade. But it was officially canceled. So you got to go with the rules. It's officially canceled. But the one thing I will say is we know these reports are late. I don't cancel WASD, so I don't know that I'm going to cancel this, okay? That's the truth. So folks, I hope you found this trade room interesting. Does anybody have a question? Thank you, everybody on YouTube. If you'd be kind enough to give us a like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and thank you for joining us. I now know how to say Ayatollah, so this was a very useful trade room. But I need to change my picture because I look like Ayatollah Khomeini. It drives me crazy. Any other questions?